Carly, this is Dan.
Hey, Dan. My name is Pete from Tire King.
I tried to call you back about 3 times, Pete, and every time I picked up the line with the callbacks, it was another customer on the end of the line.
Oh, okay.
So you were next on my list. I apologize. But what can I do for you?
All right. So here's the deal. I've installed probably about 8 or 9 sets of your ball joints, the Carleys. Usually I have the customer get the parts. This time I got them from OK 4-Wheel Drive.
Okay.
And I follow all the directions right to the T because I've run into warranty issues with these things on one other customer. Everything gets torqued, everything gets greased, all the directions get followed. This truck here, I put the ball joints in and aligned it, took it for a ride, and the truck had a problem with steer returning back to center.
Okay.
You'd hit the steering wheel to go left, hit the steering wheel to go right. It's almost like you're always compensating for an oversteer.
When you were putting the ball joints in the truck, were they tight at all, or was it, did the pins drop in nice?
No, everything dropped in nice. Nothing was, of course they have to be pressed in with the ball joint press, but nothing that was.
Right. Well, no, I mean you press the cups in, right, upper and lower, and then you drop the pin into the upper cup, and that's namely what I'm talking about. Because the lower you don't disassemble.
Yep.
But the upper pin goes into the cup. I mean, so it didn't take any coercing to get the upper pin into the cup. Everything was good, and it rotated by hand.
Correct. And out of all these ball joints that let me just shut this door. Hold on a second.
Sure.
And on all these ball joints that I've installed, I've only had to grind one of the knuckles down for the clearances.
Okay.
All the other trucks, the clearances were good on there, so that's another thing I checked to make sure I had good clearance.
Sure, but even still, I mean, when the wheel is centered is when the separation is greatest from the knuckle to the outer C. So it wouldn't be like that was an interference problem anyway. You'd only get that interference at full right or left lock. So that being said, I mean, we do have a 2,000-mile break-in period on those ball joints.
Well, that's what I was calling you about. So I called OK 4-Wheel Drive because that's who I purchased them. Explained to them what the situation was. They told me it's a common issue with these Carley ball joints. They have to go through a break-in period.
Right.
So the guy's going to have to drive the truck and put some miles on it. So this was like 3 months ago. So he's well over put the 2,000 miles on it. Still has the same issue. So I even went as far as to take everything back apart again, re-grease everything, put it all back together, and it's better, but it's still there. And
you didn't happen to do a steering box or something at the same time, did you?
I haven't done a steering box. Now, here's the deal. If you guys want to make that call, if you guys feel it's a steering box, I'll do it. But the problem is I got $1,500 invested between labor.
No, I got you. It's not what I feel or don't feel. I guess I'm trying to give you the best information possible. If you said you dropped the pin in the cup and the thing was super tight, and they told you just run it and see if it would break in, that's one thing, But if the pins moved freely once it was dropped into the cup, then there's not really a whole lot of memory steer problems that can come from the ball joints. It's usually either the ball joints or the steering gear. It's one of those two. So if it spins freely, the only thing that will cause it to bind if the ball joints are good is if the axle's bad. And basically what that means is if it's a higher mileage truck and the upper C, the upper part of the forged outer is tilted up, which misaligns the center axis of the ball joint, upper and lower, then it's going to bind as the truck turns, right? So,
well, let me go back to what I did. So, I have a process of elimination to try to find out if it's in the box or if it's in the ball joints. So I popped the tie rod ends off of it, and the driver's side has a lot of drag on it to move it back and forth. The passenger side had more drag on it than the driver's side. Almost like it took some effort to turn that knuckle. That's why.
So you're saying that if you drop the tie rod ends from it, with the truck up in the air, and you grab the outsides of the tire, I mean, you can or you can't move it by hand.
I can move it, but there's friction on it, a lot more than the driver's side. So, and here's the other deal. So, I dropped everything out of it, and I pumped grease in it. Because those things are a son of a gun to try to grease. They try to get any type of grease in them.
The upper should be relatively easy. The lowers, you're right, absolutely. There's no grease reservoir in them.
So I got grease in them. I retorqued everything down to spec, and then it made it super tight. so I ended up having to take a pick and release the grease pressure out of them. Then it loosened up a lot more than what it was, but it's still got a drag on it.
All sounds very odd. You know, I mean, I've never had a set of ball joints do anything like that, you know, so.
I mean, I've been doing this now for 20-something years.
Like no, I mean,
that's why I'm
it
calling
doesn't sound like a lack of competency. I mean, absolutely. It sounds like you know exactly what you're doing. So the odd part about it is you said the driver's side drags and the passenger side drags
the passenger side drags worse than the driver's side. The driver's side, I'd almost say I would leave it be. But the passenger side, that's where it's, you know, if I put a steering box in this truck, I still may have this issue, and then I'm going to have a really upset customer.
Sure. Well, how many miles are on it?
200,000.
Yeah, I mean, so, and has he ever done a steering box before?
No, I've never.
So, I mean, I guess the point is the guy's due for one anyway, not to write it off, but if it had 40,000 miles on it, I'd be inclined to say don't do it. But, you know, it sounds like the guy needs a steering gearbox anyway.
Well, that's one thing I did tell him. I said when I did the ball joints, I said it very well could have been that the ball joints were so wore out of it, you know, the OEMs. When we put the new Carleys in it, it has that friction behind them, you know, because they're tighter, and with the play in the steering box, you didn't notice that, and now you noticed it. But
sure.
I said, there's no way for me to test that steering box to say if it is good or bad.
Well, and we're at the point, you're exactly right, and we're at the point where, you know, it's one or the other, and the gearbox needs to be replaced anyway. I can send you a set of ball joints. It sounds like you've pulled the thing apart a bunch of times already. You know, I won't charge you for it. I mean, obviously I want this truck to be right, but just understand that if the outer C is misaligned, then at that point, there's no set of ball joints, of Carley ball joints, that's ever going to work because our tolerance is so tight that any misalignment in a truck. So the only time we've ever seen that problem happen is in old trucks, you know, and trucks with 200,000 miles definitely qualify where an axle becomes a replacement part. It's so old, you know.
Well, that's one thing I'll tell you. Like, since this issue, I mean, I've had probably, and it's easy for me, in the beginning it was easy for me to sell them. As soon as I told people that I finally found a ball joint that will hold up in their truck, they were willing to spend the $800 on the ball joints. They didn't have a problem with that because every 2 years they were putting ball joints in their trucks.
Right.
But since I had this problem, I explained to him, I said, I'm afraid to put them in because I don't want to go through this again.
Well, and that's the thing, is because the tolerances are so tight on the ball joints, you know, it doesn't allow the slop that a Moog or a factory ball joint will. But all that being said, man, I mean, you tell me where you want to go with it, because it sounds like you've done a diagnostic. I mean, I don't got to work too hard to make sure that you've done your homework. It sounds like you know this as well as I do, you know, if not better. So
I think maybe what I would want to do, because I'm so far into it now, is I would probably want to do the ball joints on the passenger side, and then if it has a problem, then I can say, listen, you know, it still has an issue. There's got to be an issue in the steering box. But if I put the steering box in it and it still has an issue, then I'm really behind the eight ball with this guy.
No, I get it. So if you want to do the ball joints, I guess I can send you out a set of passenger side ball joints, and I guess we could see where it goes from there. If it fixes the problem, then, you know, that's that. If it doesn't, then I guess we've kind of done our part to try to help out the situation. And if it's a gearbox, I mean, we're out the ball joints. It is what it is, you know?
It is what it is, and you're right, and I don't know that. I can't.
But you can't. You're at the impasse. I totally understand your position in that you can't test the steering gearbox for it, and you know, if the ball joint's tight on the passenger side, that's leading me to believe it could be the ball joints, you know?
Well, and the thing is I followed all the steps. I told him to do the break-in period. And, you know, and it was really bad before. I mean,
you've done all the things that you needed to do for me to be able to go ahead and approve this. So, right. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Pete, what's the name of the shop over there?
Tire King.
Tire King. What's the billing address, please?
11 Lower Unionville Road.
11 Lower Unionville
Road.
Did you say Hill Road?
Ville, V-I-L-L-E.
Unionville Road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And the city?
Sussex. Like I just got done doing ball joints out of Dodge truck that I could have put the ball joints in from you guys for this guy because money's not an object. But I told him I got this problem, so he's like, just put the OEMs back in it then.
Bummer.
So that's, like I said, I probably turned away 8 or 9 jobs I could have sold on them.
That's no good.
But that's what you run into, like when you run into an issue with a part and you get burned, it's hard for you to get back up on the horse and ride it again. You know what I mean?
I get it.
And I did have one, but the customer purchased their own ball joints, Carly ball joints, and they had play in them. And I remember he got a big runaround on him. He had to take a video of the ball joints with the play in them and send them out to one of the guys in California. It was a disaster.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a disaster or a runaround. I mean, if the ball joints, we're super proud of them, right? And the thing is, they don't fail. That's why we have an advanced replacement lifetime warranty on them. We're a small company, we're not a Moog where we can just afford to throw things out. So if there's something that's failing, we need to know that it failed in order to honor the warranty. So, I mean, you put the axle up on jack stands, you get, a cell phone video of someone jacking up on the bottom of the tire, and if we can see a decent amount of visual deflection, then we'll replace the ball joints. But I mean, that's what we need to do in order to send you another set of ball joints that, cost us $600 to make. I mean, these aren't a profitable item for us.
I know. They're expensive, but like I said, when I bought my first set and I seen the way they were designed, I was like, man, this is the way to go. This is the only way to go.
You can understand in looking at those ball joints why we'd have a problem, or why we'd have to see it when somebody says they're worn out. Because every tire shop that installs a ball joint, where someone takes, our ball joints to them, they're like, oh, they're bad, they're clunking. It's like, well, that doesn't mean that they're bad. They have a third the play that OEM ball joints allow. In vertical, they have zero lateral, but they make a clunk noise because there's no, clip-on plastic piece inside of them that prevents that clunking noise.
Correct.
So that's why we had to institute that process. It's like everybody thought they were bad because they had 30 thousandths of vertical movement, zero lateral, but they made a little thunk when you put a pry bar into the tire. So just to give you a little insight into the process, that's why we make people take videos so we can see it, because the more annoyed customer is going to call when we replace the ball joints. He spends another $600 getting them put in, and they do the same thing, and there was no drivability issues to start. So it's like, dude, if those were in my truck, I'd grease them and let it roll. There's nothing going on with your ball joints. But in a sticking situation like this, when it's not a play situation, then you've done all that you can really do.
Okay. Now let me ask you something. I mean, I feel a little bit better talking to you now. I might get on track with trying to sell these things again. Now, is there any way I can buy from you guys directly? See, that kind of really irked me in a way, because I bought them from OK Four-Wheel Drive. They didn't have any issue selling them to me, but as soon as I ran into the issue, they didn't want to know me from Adam. They told me basically to call you, which in a way, I don't think that's right. I purchased them from them. They should make good on it.
No, I get it. At the same time, a lot of guys, it's why we try to keep our wholesale network really, really tight. We'd like people to be able to get service from our wholesalers as well, not just be a source for the product, but a source for information and troubleshooting before you have to call the manufacturer. Mm-hmm. On the ball joints, you're way too competent to get tech support from a wholesaler, and that's just being candid. If you bought them from CJC Off-Road or 8-Lug Truck Gear or one of my larger stocking retailers, they could give you pretty darn good product support. But, OK Four-Wheel Drive, they're more of a Jeep shop than anything else in New Jersey. They don't sell enough of our product to be as competent as they need to be to support a dealer like you. So to answer that question, I would tell you I would absolutely come on direct with us. In order to get a decent discount with us, you have to sell a crap load of product. That's just how dealers work, right? Yeah. What we do to make sure that isn't the case with ball joints is we instituted a ball joint program. We have a ton of front-end shops that just buy nothing but our ball joints. So what we do is if you put in a stocking order for ball joints, and that's a small quantity of 5, we'll give you 30 back on them.
Oh, so if I put them in stock, if I buy 5 from
if you buy 5 sets to keep on the shelf, because you sell what's in stock, right? So if you buy 5 sets to keep on the shelf, then I'll give you 30% off, which is stocking dealer. I mean, that's people who are selling, $250,000 a year worth of Carly product. That's what their discount is. But that discount only applies to the 5 sets of ball joints purchased on the same invoice. If you were to buy a track bar on top of that, you get the standard 10 to 15% off it until you actually met the buy-in of $5,000.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, we have a ball joint program here for exactly that.
Okay.
So you can, I guess, if you'd like to do something with that, I could shoot you over a dealer app. You just let me know.
Yeah, fax me over some paperwork on that. I'll give you the fax number.
Well, what's your email address? We actually don't have a fax.
Oh, okay. It's Pete, as in PETE, BA89 @hotmail.com.
PETEBA89 at hotmail.com.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't really have paperwork on the actual ball joint program. Actually, you know what? I think it is in my dealer app. So I'll send you over the dealer app, and you can read through it, fill it out, send it on back to me. If you want to stock those ball joints, we'll make it happen for you. Give me a second here, and I'll get this sent over to you. All right, so I just sent that to you, so you should have that in your inbox. And you said this was in Suffolk, New Jersey, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, because it's given me Wantage.
Wantage. Okay, it could come up with Wantage.
Does that matter?
Yeah, no, you can put down as Wantage.
It's trying to correct it for me, so I'll put it down as Wantage.
Basically, if you live in Beverly Hills or you don't, you know.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, some people say, I live in Wantage or I live in Sussex.
Well, it's a class thing out there, huh?
Yeah. No, we're definitely not like California, that's for sure.
Okay, let's do this. Then I'll create an RMA here so that we know what the hell's going on. I apologize. I got to keep you on the phone through this whole process. I just want to make sure it all gets handled, since I know you've been trying to put this to bed for a while.
Yeah, I was, you know, and I don't want to do this over again. I was hoping that the break-in period was going to work in it. And I even went as far as to realign it, and I gave it as much caster as I could to hopefully compensate for that. Yeah,
and you shouldn't have to do that, you know, so... Let me see here. Dodge upper ball joint assembled. And I'll go ASDUBJ, and we'll just do an upper and a lower, because I could just send you the upper, but I don't want you to get all the way in there and have it be a different issue. So I'll say AS.
That's why now that you're saying that, I wonder if there's something with the bore in there, is when you torque them down, it tightens it up. Because as long as it's loose and it's just hanging, it's fine. It's when you put the torque to them.
Well, the thing is, when you put the torque to them, what it does is it aligns the whole fixture. And that's what makes me think that there might be something going on with the outer C here.
Okay.
So if when the ball joints are installed, you can put the nuts on them and you can spin them by hand, I'm telling you, it's not the ball joints.
Okay.
If when you put the pin in and you turn it on either one and you can feel it grinding, or there's a weird little spot in it when you're turning it, then that's going to be probably the ball joints, you know. But if they spin freely until you torque it up, then that's telling me that there's either a problem with the knuckle. Does he have original knuckles in the truck? Because that could be another problem.
Yeah, but I can tell the knuckles look fine. I've seen worn knuckles. I put plenty of knuckles in these trucks.
Okay, I was going to say, because it sits significantly deeper into a 200,000-mile knuckle in the taper than it will in a brand new knuckle.
Plus, the gap in between that, it would rub, it would hit.
So that's the kind of the question is, you've got the little snout on the upper ball joint that goes down, and that rubs on the top of the knuckle taper.
Okay.
And it causes that problem on a worn knuckle. So if there's separation there, then you shouldn't have that problem. But if you could see grind marks on the end of the snout on the upper ball joint, he needs new knuckles.
All right. Well, when I take it apart, I'll inspect that.
Okay. Give me a second here. And if that's the case, just shoot me the ball joints back, because that's a knuckle problem, you know?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So an upper ball joint and a lower ball joint, I'll put on here.
But now this break-in period that you're talking about, is that technically, because this is the first time I ever ran into a break-in period.
It doesn't really apply. That's more on there just for the guys that. So there's always going to be a little bit of compression. I mean, that forged outer is a monster, right? So you press the ball joint cup into there, and you're always going to get a little bit of compression on that housing. So when I'm sitting here with the ball joint, we're assembling them in-house, we can feel a certain tolerance, and it feels, a certain way that passes inspection. We box them up, we send them. Well, when you press those ball joint cups into the axle, it submits them a little bit. It squeezes them. Right? So when you drop the pin in, if the pin is tight, the thing is the inner of the cup and the outer of the pin on the wear surfaces are coated.
Okay.
So that coating is going to take up, call it, a thou or something. I mean, probably not even that much. But when you drop that pin in the cup, and that coating starts to wear against each other, it's going to take a few turning cycles before those wear surfaces are exposed, and after the first greasing, you should just have grease between the wear surfaces, and everything else has that graphite coating on it. Okay. Most of the ball joints that we send out here are going to be hand toleranced to the point where the pin will drop in. So the break-in period doesn't even apply to you, because you said you drop the pins in, and they turn smoothly by hand. If that's the case, then you're not breaking anything in. It's when the pins are semi-tight that you have to actually break the coating and the wear surfaces in.
Gotcha.
Make sense?
Okay, yes, it does make sense.
Okay, so I'll go here, RMA 10136. Anyway, while this figures out what it's doing, send call tag for his uppers / lowers. Okay. So upper and lower ball joint, I've got an RMA number here for you. You'll get that on the invoice when it ships with the warranty. Mm-hmm. This is going to Tire King, 11 Lower Unionville Road, Wantage, New Jersey, and then 07461.
Yep.
And then best contact phone number for you, 973-702-1838.
That's fine.
Done and done. I shipped you over the ball joints, so those things should be leaving. We're probably going to have another batch here. Basically, we're always back ordered 6 to 8 weeks on these ball joints.
That's fine. I'm going to have him take his truck, and then when they come in,
we're back ordered. I was going to say we jump these ahead of the line. So warranties always go with the next batch and push off the orders. So this is going to ship probably within the next week. You'll see it there, and then obviously we're going to send you a shipping call tag to ship the other ones back to us. Just do me a favor, give me a call, let me know what's up when you get this thing figured out. And like I said, dealer app's in your inbox, so if you want to go ahead and move forward with that, we can do that as well.
Okay, yeah, because I got to give him back his truck because he's a carpenter and he's got to roll with it. So I'll call him up when they get here to schedule a day and to get them done.
All good.
All right.
It's all on process over here, so we're good to go.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, Peter. Thanks, man.
Yep. Bye.
See ya.